In the most recent NBA draft, the Pelicans traded both their 23rd overall pick and their 2026 pick swap with Milwaukee to move up and acquire Derik Queen with the 13th overall pick. And at the time, for New Orleans, this was looked at as kind of a bonehead move.
This was one of the 5 dumbest trades of this decade. I was speechless.
But fast forward about 2 months into the season, Queen right now has the 3rd best odds for winning Rookie of the Year. And beyond that, the Pelicans might have stumbled upon a new franchise player. Now, compared to your typical NBA center, Queen is an undersized big man at just 6'9". Plus, he doesn't have that elite quick twitch explosiveness, which kind of leaves him on the ground and playing underneath the basket. But despite Queen not having earth-shattering physical tools, he's still a really difficult one-on-one matchup. First, in open space, Queen already has a very developed handle. He's got the ball control to put together combinations, plus the footwork to stay on balance and sell moves. That handle is already enough to make Queen a really tough matchup for opposing team centers in isolation. And a big chunk of the Pelicans' offense is him playing with the ball at the top of the key, while they occupy the help defense with off-ball screening actions and cutting. This move here is nasty. We're off the catch. He's going to jab with that right foot and extend the ball. And while Cornette does a 360 and tries to head off this drive, Queen's going to get into a high pickup and attack back to his right. I like the rhythm and ball control here, where Queen's going to casually lift up his level and turn his head, and watch him curl the ball in and drop back down into a drive to his right. Now, along with that sticky handle in open space, Derik in general also has a really good first step. Again, if any slower footed big tries to step out and meet him on the perimeter, he can dust them with simple straight line drives. Plus, he has the physicality to drive through contact and carve out angles. This is a really good move here off the catch, where Queen is going to rip the ball under and shift his weight to his left foot, which moves Naz Reid out of his frame and sets up the drive to his right. And again, while coming downhill, he has the stability to keep that driving line and pick up through contact. And like you've seen on a couple of these clips, Queen's really good at using his pace to set up these angles. He's always playing at different levels, changing his speed, and using his eyes to throw the defense off and set up different drives. Look how relaxed he is here when he bounces out with the ball. But with Trey Murphy here cutting through on the wing, this is all meant to relax Derik lively and set up this drive back to his left. The pace on this play is next level, where Queen first comes off the screen, gets into the paint, then pulls the ball out. And with his back towards Gobert here, look how his head is turned reading the weak side defense. And when they shift out of the paint, Derik's going to turn back to his left and charge towards the basket. And again, all these drives stem from Queen constantly being on balance, because that gives him the option to counter and react from every possible position. With his first dribble here, he's initially looking to set up a handoff for Herb Jones, but when he feels Daniel Gafford cheating over, Queen has the footwork and body control to reverse pivot and find this angle to his left. Now, when creating scoring windows in the paint, Queen very much leans into his physicality. While he is short, he does have a low center of gravity, so he can pretty effectively get underneath bigger defenders and move them off their spot. Jaden McDaniels here is clearly the taller and longer guy, but Queen just moves him off his spot with a simple straight line drive, to then bounce him back in the paint and bump his way into a finish. Same exact thing here against Cooper Flag. It's just a north to south drive right into his chest. Now, in the deep paint, Derik also has really good footwork and touch. He can play off 2 feet and throw up shot fakes, or use pivots to turn and find different angles. And he's comfortable putting up soft baby hooks with either hand. He initially gets caught here picking up his dribble, but watch him pivot around, step into contact, to then put up this 8-foot soft left hand push shot. Queen also has the control to put up soft finishes while playing with a head of steam. Many of these looks aren't super graceful, but these are effective ways for him to counter length around the basket. So as a half-court scorer, Queen already has a lot of juice in his game. He's got the handle and first step to cook slower-footed bigs in isolation. His footwork and balance allows him to counter from every spot on the floor. And around the basket, he can make up for his lack of size with that footwork and touch. And many of those tools for Derik also carry over to his play in transition. If he gets ahead of steam in the open court, that blend of size and ball handling makes him really tough to deal with. where he has the mobility to change direction and wiggle through traffic, as well as pick up and bully through contact. Going forward, once he gets a little more NBA experience, I think this low-key might be the best part of his game, because when he gets momentum like this, the only real way to stop him is to foul. And like we're seeing across the league, having a center who can catch and go like this is really hard to guard. Now with the ball in his hands, Queen is much more than just an isolation scorer. So far this year, the Pelicans have had their best offense with him in the middle of the floor as a playmaker. From the top of the key, Derik has a good feel and can read the defense pretty well. But what I think really separates him as a passer is how advanced his deliveries already are. He can perfectly lead cutters with these baseball bounce passes or snap one-hand dimes off a live dribble. This play here is big time, where he takes a dribble to his right, and then in an instant, he reads the backdoor cut and shovels his one-hand pass. And then along with him being able to needle those tight bounce passes, he also has the timing and touch to lob the ball over the defense. And again, the accuracy from over 30 feet out is really impressive. From the logo here, he has the cutter curling around him and diving towards the rim. But notice how Queen is going to briefly hesitate and wait for Gobert to commit up, which then frees up the backside for this lob. As a passer, Queen can also read and punish the weak side defense. On this play here, look how he already feels his backline defender shifting over. So he already knows that the spray out 3 to the opposite corner is there. And to me, what's most impressive about Queen's playmaking is how he weaves it into his off the dribble attacking. While putting the ball down, the option to pass for him doesn't go away. So if the defense throws multiple bodies at him, he has no problem picking up and making the right play. He can dime up cutters along the baseline or hit his teammates for more above the rim lobs. And the thing that makes Derik really special as a rookie is that despite all this on-ball scoring and creation juice, he still isn't a ball stopper. He has no problem making simple swing passes or keeping the offense flowing with dribble handoffs. And this is another reason why some of the best offenses in the NBA play through their centers. Because in essence, you do get the best of both worlds. You have a guy who can score one-on-one, play make from the perimeter or in the post, plus you can plug him into any off-ball action as a screener. With Queen's current build and skill set, he can easily fill that role for the Pelicans offense going forward. Now obviously with any rookie who's shouldering a lot offensively, there's going to be some growing pains. Sometimes Queen as a passer will see the right play, but make the wrong delivery. And as a scorer, him primarily being a downhill attacker, while lacking that elite vertical pop, does handicap his finishing ability against length. There's many times where he gets caught forcing the issue, and trying to squeeze these tough finishes through multiple bodies. And even though he has good footwork and touch, it's sometimes not enough against the top tier rim protectors. Derik here does everything right on paper, where he first beats Gobert, then gets back into his body while coming downhill. But again, that lack of pop still allows Gobert to alter this finish. And again, because Derik is primarily a downhill driver, there's many times where the defense off the bounce is willing to give up space and kind of funnel him into these early pickups and pushed out floaters. And shots like these from 10 to 12 feet out are really tough. Now going forward, I think the best way for Queen to work around defenses sagging back or teams packing the paint with length is to be more willing to stop short and pop jumpers. His volume and efficiency on these in-between looks may not be that great yet, but I think he easily has the foundation to be a solid mid-range scorer. He's got a good base, brings the ball up in one smooth motion, while having good hand placement on the ball. I think defenses respecting him as a scorer from 15 feet and out will really pull that length outside the paint, where Queen can then better leverage that handle and quickness to get more clean blow-bys. Take this play for example. On the catch here, Derik Lively is giving him way too much space, and for Queen, this should be an automatic rise up. But again, him putting the ball down and trying to go at the bigger defender that's sagging back isn't really playing into his strengths. So again, going forward, if Queen can improve that scoring from outside the paint, I think that will feed into literally every part of his game. It will be easier for him to break down the defense at the point of attack, and him also pulling the opposing team center outside the paint will free up the rim for more cutting. Now when moving on and looking at Queen's defense, I think he's always going to have an uphill battle on this side of the floor. First, him being 6'9" and not having a ton of lift in the paint is always going to limit him as a rim protector. Rolling big men have no problem elevating over him, and physical slashers can get finishes by just attacking his body. And then on the floor, Queen also has a hard time covering ground and getting himself in position. Crafty guards can maneuver around him with Euro steps, or throw off his timing with deceleration. Simply put, with his build, Queen is never going to be a top tier rim protector. And then what's also concerning is that Derik also lacks the foot speed to switch out and contain guards on the perimeter. It's easy to open up his stance and get him out of position, and then once he gets in the paint, he again doesn't have the verticality to bail himself out. Because of that lack of mobility, Derik often sits back in a deep drop out of pick and roll, which naturally leaves you vulnerable to all kinds of breakdowns. And if he does step out to meet the ball at the level, those heavy feet leave the Pelicans defense vulnerable on the weak side. He's going to blitz De'Aaron Fox off the screen, and as the ball gets swung across, he has to scramble back down to cover his man in the paint. And this backline defender here is doing his job by tagging the roller, but that's just too much ground for Derik to cover. So with Derik primarily being a drop defender at a pick and roll, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Pelicans guards and wings to navigate these screens. And from Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Jose Alvarado, I do think New Orleans has the personnel to stay afloat if they leave Queen behind the action. And to be fair, I wouldn't say Queen is a total pushover as a defender. In the paint, he is pretty good at staying between the ball and the rim, which at times is enough to force misses. And if he's able to find a 2-foot base, he can extend up and absorb contact pretty well in the air. Again, he's not making plays above the rim, but he can at least put a body in front of the ball. So going forward, I don't think Queen is ever going to be an all-NBA defender. But if the Pelicans can continue to surround him with really good wing and backcourt defenders, I think their defense as a whole can stay afloat. And from Houston and Denver, we've seen that teams can have a really good defense without having a great defensive center. So going forward, I think Queen's skill set and feel is going to make him another really good scoring and playmaking center. And if he just improves at outside shooting, I think the game for him will open up even more. And while he does have some vulnerabilities on defense, I do think the right roster for the most part can plug up his limitations.